Go ahead and be turning to Mark 9, if you would. Hope you've had a good week. We were visited by our kids and grandkids over the weekend, and with all the rain, you guys are probably aware out on Highway 51, they've really torn all that up. So getting in and out of our place has been a bit of a challenge, but either with the rain, either coming down from the hill, we're on a hill, and quite a bit of the land behind us drains down, and our street, both sides, we have kind of a canal when it rains like that. But the kids were just so excited on our porch last night. We've never seen this before. We're two crawdads. And we don't know if they washed down or crawled up from where all the construction was taking place, because we've got some pretty good sized drainage ditches over there. But they just thought that was the neatest thing. And they were asking us, does this happen often? And no, or we would have had them for dinner. But it's always fun. We're going to be in verse 14 of Mark chapter 9. And I want to remind you, we're coming to the conclusion. And I know we're 16 chapters and we're in chapter 9, but so much of it, like in most of the Gospels, so much of the writing of the book just has to do with the last week, because there were so many events that happened that week and leading up to it, and we're getting right close to that. And because of the compression, Jesus is really teaching strong, less of indirect and less of parabolic and more just straight. And remember, they've been asking from time to time, why don't you just speak straight to us? And part of that was they couldn't handle it. And now, when he does, they can't handle it. They don't understand what he's saying. And they kind of get tripped up on things like after the transfiguration, as they're leaving, he told the three, don't tell this to anybody. And he took three of them, instead of 12, he took three aside for a purpose. And as we know, those three represented kind of his inner circle. Please understand, even with choosing 12, not everybody's on the same level. Not everybody has the same depth of whatever maturity, spirituality, whatever you want to call it. And so he told them, and I think they took that to heart, and I think the intent was, don't tell anybody. Don't tell the others. It's one of the reasons I left them behind. And until I rise again. And then they really went off in a rabbit hole about what does he mean by rising again. So they come back from that to rejoin everybody else. And it's right back kind of into turmoil. As he goes kind of from turmoil to turmoil, especially now as things are beginning to come to a head. Look at verse 14. When they had come back to the disciples, they saw a large crowd around them and some scribes arguing with them. And immediately when the entire crowd saw him, they were amazed, began running up to greet him. And he asked them, what are you discussing with them? And one of the crowd answered him, Teacher, I brought you my son, possessed with a spirit, which makes him mute. Whenever it seizes him, it dashes him to the ground. He foams at the mouth and grinds his teeth and stiffens out. And I told your disciples to cast it out. They couldn't do it. And he answered them and said, O unbelieving generation, how long shall I be with you? How long shall I put up with you? Bring him to me. And they brought the boy to him, and when he saw him, immediately the spirit threw him into a convulsion. Falling to the ground, he began rolling about, foaming at the mouth. And he asked his father, how long has this been happening to him? And he said, from childhood. And it has often thrown him both into the fire and into the water to destroy him. But if you can do anything, take him take pity on us and help us. And Jesus said to him, if you can. All things are possible to him who believes. Immediately the boy's father cried out and began saying, I do believe, help my unbelief. When Jesus saw that a crowd was rapidly gathering, he rebuked the spirit, saying to it, you deaf and dumb spirit, I command you, come out of him and do not enter him again. Now I want to read verse 25 again, and I want you to notice how it's constructed. And when Jesus saw that a crowd was rapidly gathering, he rebuked the unclean spirit. He did this when he saw there was a crowd. And I want you to be thinking about that, because I want to come back and see what's the significance that the crowd played in this miracle that he performed. He rebuked the unclean spirit, saying to him, you deaf and dumb spirit, I command you, come out of him, do not enter him again. And after crying out, throwing him into terrible convulsions, it came out, and the boy became so much like a corpse that most of them said he's dead. But Jesus took him by the hand and raised him up, and he got up. When he had come into the house, his disciples began questioning him privately, why could we not cast it out? And he said to them, this kind cannot come out by anything but prayer. Interesting response. Let's take a look at this interaction and see what we're learning here. Now, we're coming, as I mentioned, we're coming back from this transfiguration, this high, this event that caused Peter to say, let's build 3 booths. We need to commemorate this, because it's a tremendous event. It's great that we were here. And I think when we read that statement, it's really good that we were here. I think our response is kind of duh, but I really think what he's saying is he's acknowledging, because he's the one that just recently acknowledged that Jesus is the Christ. He understands this is tremendously significant. He understands that the 3 of them were entrusted with this event. Nobody else on the face of this earth. So I think in saying it's very good that we were here. In other words, we're honored to be chosen to be here. I don't think it's a duh statement or this is great. Oh, this was awesome. I think it's hitting him, as all of them, although to the depths of it. When you see an event like that, it's really hard to make all the applications of what's the significance of Moses and Elijah being there, what's the significance of them appearing. Jesus is the one his clothes are shining bright. They appear, then they disappear, and then there's a cloud, and then the voice that says, this is my beloved son, hear him. And personally, I think the emphasis was on the him, because Moses they listened to, Elijah they listened to. Moses represented the law, Elijah represented revelation through prophecy, so they're listening to them. And I remember not long ago, he had asked, who do men say that I am? Some say John the Baptist, some Elijah, some the prophets. So God is doing something very out of character at this time, and he's really reiterating the point of the uniqueness of Jesus. He's trying to help them get to understand what it means, what Messiah means, what anointed means. And as we've talked about before, when it comes to God, all of our words get redefined, they get reinvented. Because like it said, when he came back to the disciples, this is everybody that's following him, but he's already redefined what disciple means. It doesn't even mean what people typically mean. So he comes down, there's a discussion going on with the scribes and the disciples. This is concerning to Jesus, so he asked them, what are you talking to them about, to the scribes about? What do you think might be going on in his mind, Jesus' mind? Please understand, we need to approach a question like that with a bit of trepidation to try to anticipate what's in his mind. But based on what he says and how he interacts, what do you think are his concerns? He's really establishing us and them relationship. What are you talking to them about? Okay. Why are you arguing with them as if they're authoritative? Good point. Others. Yes. And his difficulty with them. In verse 19, O unbelieving generation, how long shall I be with you? He's not saying, how long am I going to put up with you? Although he would have a right to say that. I want to remind you that anytime he gets a growing group of disciples, there's a threat. And he told them, beware of the leaven of the Pharisees and Herod. Okay? Beware of the influence, the political influence of these groups. Now, many of the scribes were Pharisees, not all, but probably predominant. Their political party was Pharisee. So, what might happen out of this argument that could feed into that concern? They're going to hear about this back in Jerusalem. Clock's already running. He knows that. And he's trying to push the clock back. Why? For the exact reason you talked about. I need you guys to get this. You don't see the darkness is coming. I do. I need you to get this. But not just the 12. I need all of you folks. Now, I want you to consider that the unbelieving, he said, oh, unbelieving generation. That included everybody that was listening to it. That included the scribes, it includes the 12, it includes the disciples. And what does he expect? And expect may be too strong. What does he hope? All right. he asked the disciples, he's coming back into an ongoing situation, so I need to come up to speed. What are you talking to them about? And there's a man that answers him, and that's what it said. And one of the crowd answered him, Teacher, I brought you, my son, possessed with a spirit that makes him mute. When it seizes him, it dashes him to the ground. He foams at the mouth, grinds his teeth, and stiffens out. And I told your disciples to cast it out, and they could not do it. And he answered them and said, O unbelieving generation, how long shall I put up with you? How long shall I how long shall I be with you? How long shall I put up with you? Bring him to me. So I brought him to you. You weren't here. Presented him to your followers. Told them or discussed with them. Cast out. He has an expectation they can do this. Why? Yes. And it raises that issue. Can they do it? Do they have the capability? Matthew chapter 10, verse 5. These 12 Jesus sent out after instructing them, saying, Do not go out on the way of the Gentiles, do not enter any city of the Samaritans, but rather go to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. And as you go, preach, saying, The kingdom of heaven is at hand. Heal the sick, raise the dead, cleanse the lepers, cast out demons. Freely you received, freely give. So he said to them, Heal the sick, raise the dead, cleanse the lepers, cast out demons. In Mark chapter 6, and he summoned the 12, verse 7, if you want to reference that. And he summoned the 12, began to send them out in pairs. And he was giving them authority over the unclean spirits. Now, that's interesting. It's not just the ability to perform miracles. What's denoted here is he's giving them authority over the unclean spirits. And he instructed them that they should take nothing for their journey except a mere staff, no bread, no bag, no money in their belt, but to wear sandals. And he added, Do not put on 2 tunics. And he said to them, Whenever you enter a house, stay there until you leave town. Any place that does not receive you or listen to you, as you go out from there, shake the dust from the soles of your feet for a testimony against them. And they went out and preached that men should repent. And they were casting out many demons and were anointing with oil many sick people and healing them. Do they have the power to do what this man, do they have the authority to do what this man is requesting them to do? Yes. Yeah. Gary. Yes. And I think that's the question. Why could we not cast it out? Which would lead them possibly to feel what? Inadequate. We're in over our heads. We did this before, but we did this before because when you sent us out, you said, I'm giving you the authority. So we kind of wore that badge, but now we've kind of worn that badge out. You need to re-up our authority, because we lost it. Did they? No. But that's the problem. And guys, we do the same thing. We get empowered, and then we run out of power in our perception when we have God's already given us the capabilities to overcome sin, temptation, all of those kinds of things. Plus, He will add when we seek it, but it's not that it wasn't there. Now, I want you to look at this because I think I think it even goes beyond, and I think faith is at the core of this. um, so the man brings the boy, and I want to get into this, guys. This is a horrible. Your heart goes out to the Father. Your heart goes out to the Son. To have a life in which you're having grand mal seizures and foaming at the mouth and falling into fire, falling into water, and falling on the ground and kind of doing the curly shuffle, you're out of your head. And it's a boy. And what horrible life they're having to deal with. And so he comes, and he said, I came to you, Jesus, to get him healed. And so apparently what happens is those who are going to be apostles, those called to be apostles, remember, apostle means one sent, and they haven't been sent yet. They've had a trial sending, so they're disciples. They are emulators, but they're not yet fulfilling the ministry of an apostle. Although they had, just a little bit of time of trying it so they could have some on-the-job training. And I told your disciples to cast it out, and they couldn't do it. And he says to Jesus, and I want to come back to what's going on here, and I think it goes to faith and it goes to prayer. This is not just another healing. This is not just another demon, okay? I want you to understand that I believe from the time this boy received this spirit of mutism and all of that, what we would call epilepsy-like, Satan was after Jesus and or his disciples. With Legion, he tried to overload a guy with demons so it would overwhelm Jesus. This one, as you said, is different. When God said our battle is not with flesh and blood, it's principalities and powers. That's like sergeants and lieutenants. And what I'm suggesting to you is, and if you've ever read C.S. Lewis' Screwtape Letters, you get potential insight into all the communication that's going on and how Screwtape, who is higher in Satan's army, is discussing with his nephew Wormwood about how to deal with a human. Wormwood is a one-on-one relationship with a human being, and Screwtape is more of a supervisor. And I want you to think in those terms because we've got a big demon here. And the demon's not after the child. Now, certainly he wants to destroy him, and he wants to destroy the father. But he's achieving what he's trying to achieve. Now he's got the disciples doubting themselves, which means doubting God indirectly, doubting Jesus indirectly. Now he's got this father who has faith enough to come and say, and in the New American Standard it says, I told your disciples. That's faith, guys. I mean, that's it. It's not a question of if. Now he's going to ask Jesus if, because now his doubt has risen. If they can't do it, and they're authorized to do this or whatever, can you? Is this one so big? Because you don't read of this kind of overwhelm at the hands of demons. This is a devastation of this boy's life, and therefore a devastation of the father's life and everyone that they come in contact with. I mean, this can destroy a family and a clan and all that kind of stuff because it's just too much. And so the father says, he tells him, I came to you, and I think the implication is, but you weren't here. So I told the disciples to cast him out, and they couldn't. And now there's an argument between all of these folks and the scribes. And I think the argument is over this event, the authority. The authority of Jesus, the authority of them, who do you think you are, and yada, yada, yada. So this is a tumult. And the tumult is demonstrated by Jesus' response. Oh, unbelieving generation. How long am I going to be with you? How long am I going to put up with you? He's talking to all of them. And he asked the father, how long has he been with him? And he said, from childhood has often thrown him into the fire, into the water to destroy him. But if you can do anything, take pity on us and help us. And Jesus said to him, if you can. Now, I read that with no inflection, or tried to. There's a couple of ways this could be, well, more than two. This could be inflected. If you can. If you can. Or, if you can. There's a possibility Jesus is putting this back on him. You potentially have the capability to do this if you believe. Absolutely. Everybody in this group, he's not the only one empowered. He's not the only one authorized. And in fact, it could be available to anyone who would be his disciple, who would believe, who would trust in him, and therefore receive the power of God. Old generation, not old followers or, yo, dude, how long am I going to have to put up with people like you? He's writing them all off because they're all in the same boat, and that boat is unbelief. You unbelieving generation. If you can. You see, the implication is, if Jesus is not present, it can't get done. If Jesus isn't right there when the guy comes, and remember, when he first started, back in chapter 1, he was performing miracles, and they woke up the next day, and he was gone. And Peter went and found him and said, you've wandered off. They're back in town waiting on you. You've got work to do, and you've abandoned it. They're waiting on people have brought people to you, and that's when he said to him, let's go on to the next city so that I can do what I came here to do, which was preach the word. I didn't come here with primarily a healing ministry. Now, the healing underlines why I'm here. And so the idea and their fear is, when he's gone, he being Jesus, we're messed up. What he wants them to understand is you all have this capability. Guys, when he talks about, if you have faith to move a mountain, it'll be moved. He's talking to all of us, not those who are imbued with miracle ability. Guys, we can oppose our enemy. We can oppose, by the authority of God, the demonic. We can overcome being overcome. And he wanted them to understand. Now, them in a miraculous way. And so, very possibly, he's pushing this back on the Father. And the Father, I think, gets it. I do believe, but help my unbelief. Yes. Everybody there is unbelieving. Everybody. To different degrees. And as you're talking about, we've done this before, and now we ran out of gas. Why couldn't we do this? And he's going to answer that question, interestingly enough, not with faith. And by the way, not with fasting, because that's not in the original either. He's just going to say prayer. Now, I'm going to stop in that, and we're going to go back and look at that. And it's interesting, after having gotten on to them, why could we not cast it out? Because you're idiots. Because you're children. You know, he's very impatient with them. How long am I going to put up with you? But look at how gentle he is. This one takes prayer. This one can only, this type can only come out with prayer. Now I want to go back to this, what's going on with this boy. I want you to see when Jesus casts out demons, they shriek. They cry out. The demon does. And he's going to convulse the boy. When they first bring him, he does. And when Jesus calls him to come out, he convulses this boy. Why? He didn't like it. Yes. And I think you're exactly right. They either have a host or outer darkness. And they hate outer darkness. I mean, that's a foretaste of their judgment. So if I can live in a host, life's better. Now, I make his life worse. Which raises the issue, if this demon had been wise, and just calm down. Don't broadcast. Don't throw this kid into the fire. You're just asking for trouble. Why did, and he convulsed him when when he brought him to Jesus, he convulsed him after why? Shut up, demon. You're just drawing attention to yourself. You're asking to be exercised. Why did the demon do this? Okay, let's back up. This demon was assigned to this boy. Is he being supervised? Not the boy, the demon. Yes. Right. Guys, he can't. To chill would be to be at peace. There's no peace. One of Satan's names is destroyer. It's what we do. We cannot not do it. It would be like the Holy Spirit coming and living in you and not doing anything. He would get in trouble with the other two in the Godhead. Now I'm speaking in a way you really can't talk about. You can't divide these up, but it would be the same thing. We would expect if God is going to assign his spirit to you, that it's going to do something. Or why be there? I mean, We got other work to do. Why are you not? And it's the same way here. So it's kind of like C.S. Lewis. We're getting instruction, and if we're not doing it, you're going to get fired by your leader who is a destroyer. Understand, he doesn't have respect for demons either. He doesn't respect anything. You just follow and serve, and if you're lucky, I will not get angry at you and burn you or whatever. So it can't help but do it. Why do you think it cries out? Why do you think it shrieks? Okay. What did you say, Mary? No problem. Um, in all the ways that you're describing, this hurts a demon. This is, guys, this is a foretaste of what's going to happen when they're cast into darkness, etc. This is destruction. This is harm. This is painful. To be in the presence of good is painful if you're evil. Okay, and to cast him out, it goes back to what you were saying, that he's now homeless. He's purposeless unless he gets to sign another human or whatever. And the only thing he has is outer darkness. And that's where there's weeping and wailing and gnashing of teeth. Okay? This is not hell. Hell was prepared for the devil and his angels. They're not there yet, but outer darkness is bad enough. Okay? Even demons want to experience the goodness in the world. Even demons want light. Even demons want warmth. Not that much warmth that they're going to get. They want the good things. But they're evil, so they corrupt everything that is good. Now, when Jesus said, come out, and he shrieks as he comes out, because it hurt, this is judgment against him. And he says, leave and don't come back. He's banished. Now, what happens when you get evicted and you're mad at being evicted? What do people do to the house when they're evicted from it and they're mad that they're evicted? Tear it up. Tear it up. And that's what he did with the boy. The problem with all of this for him, the demon, is he's showing his nature. Guys, I think it's very obvious that during the time Jesus came to earth, that God gave Satan permission that he hadn't had before. You can take over people against their will. You can come to live inside someone without them inviting you. I'm doing this and Satan's like, good, all right, finally, I'm getting some respect here. It's a setup. Everything, God is setting him up. He's setting up the disciples and Jesus. It's a war, okay? And so he's got this extra power. But in doing that, please understand, every time it looks like the enemy is winning, God is winning if you look at what's going on. Because what does it show about what Satan and demons and all that do? People think about temptation. People think about, I don't want to go over there. I don't want to go into this bar or go into this opium den or whatever, because temptation is there. And boy, it's really attractive, but I know it's going to hurt me. You see, what Satan hides behind is this: he hides behind his own deception. And that is, I make the beer glass look just frosty, and and the moisture running down the side of it like they show in commercials. It looks so good, and we understand what's at the end of that mug of beer, and that's abuse and all other kinds of things. We understand that because we've been trained in that, and that's the way he works. He's being exposed. What does Satan do? He destroys. And it doesn't matter if he's using deception or he's just out and out throwing you into the fire. He destroys. The demon is exposing himself, and he's showing us what Satan ultimately is doing with you or striving to do with you. Don't be fooled by the times of peace. Understand, this wasn't happening to this boy every minute of every day. Don't give him the credit that he's just tempting you. Don't let him use deception. See through his deception to see what he's actually doing and how he actually exists and what his purpose is, and that's to destroy. He's trying to destroy the disciples. He's trying to destroy the child. He's trying to destroy the father. He's trying to destroy everything. But in doing that, what he's revealing is, all I can do is destroy. But he can't not do it. He can't chill. Because chill is peace. And peace comes from God. And he doesn't have that. And he can't have that. And in fact, anything like that that he may enjoy by being inside a host, he's about to lose because Jesus just walked in. And that's the end. And now it's outer darkness, weeping and wailing. And so, yeah, I'm going to throw the kid down. You're throwing me out, but I'm going to kill him. And I want you to see something. He took every bit of health that he could. When he left, they thought he was dead. And I would suggest to you he's at the point of death. I would suggest to you that this demon had overwhelmed him, trying to destroy him, and I would suggest to you that God, it's just like he did in Job. You can touch him, you can't take his life. You can take whatever you want, but you can't. God establishes boundaries, or if indeed he had destroyed the boy, when Jesus touched him, he's alive again. Doesn't suggest that. I think the demon took everything that he thought he could take. Everything that he was authorized to take. And the boy's laying there as if dead. And Jesus had said to all of them, including the father, if you believe, this would have already been taken care of. That's strong. That's strong. Because the same is true today. We're always looking to somebody else to save our kids and our grandkids. We're always looking for somebody who we can call to talk to them, to get them straight, to whatever. And what he wanted all of these guys to understand, including this father, you could have done this. You could have done this. You could have called on power of God. And especially to you, who that I gave the authority to heal, cast out demons. I gave all this authority and you did it. And in fact, when they came back, they were so excited, telling them stories about demons that they had gotten rid of. And I want to remind you, that was the first thing he talked about. He gave them authority to cast out demons and then to do the other things. That was the big one. There are no small miracles, but why is that so important? Why is not just healing and healing leprosy and all that, but being able to cast out demons, why is that what I'm calling the big one? Yes, this is, you have the authority to go straight to the head of evil and overcome him. That's incredible authority. Now they're confused. Why couldn't we get rid of him? And Jesus said, this kind, which means there's kinds, cannot come about by anything but prayer. So what had they missed? Yeah. Yes. They had authority. They didn't have power because that comes from God. And we confuse that. And we think if we have authority, we have power. And then it becomes about our power to, why couldn't we do this? You never can. But God can through you. And the prayer is, and I want you to go back through the Gospels and look at the times that Jesus performed miracles, and he started it with prayer. And he started a healing with prayer. And he broke bread and fed the 4,000 or 5,000 with prayer. Why? Because the power did not come except by God. And that's what he taught them. All of these things that I do, the Father is doing through me. More specifically, the Holy Spirit was giving testimony. That's what they had forgotten. Why couldn't we? Because you never could. I gave you the authority. You can never have the power over Satan. Only God has that. All right, let's take a break. Get ready for our assembly. Chapter 10, please read for next time. And good morning to you.